The White House meeting between Trump and Zelensky, as reported by the Financial Times, revealed deepening fissures in the U.S.-Ukraine relationships. According to sources familiar with the closed-door discussions, Trump repeatedly pressed Zelensky to accept a ceasefire based on current frontline positions, effectively freezing the conflict with Russia in control of significant Ukrainian territory, including much of Donetsk. At one point, Trump reportedly grew visibly frustrated, discarding detailed battlefield maps and questioning the feasibility of Ukraine's counteroffensive strategy. He argued that continuing the war without a realistic path to victory only prolonged suffering and drained Western resources. Zelensky, however, stood firm, insisting that ceding sovereign land would not bring peace, but rather embolden further Russian aggression. His stance resonated with many European leaders, but placed him at odds with Trump's emerging doctrine of transactional diplomacy, wherein territorial compromise are viewed as pragmatic necessities rather than moral failures. This philosophical divide is further complicated by intelligence assessments suggesting that, despite staggering losses estimated by The Economist at nearly 1.4 million Russian casualties, including hundreds of thousands dead, Moscow's military momentum has not translated into decisive territorial expansion since late 2022. Analysts note that Russia's strategy appears focused on attrition, aiming to exhaust Ukrainian and Western resolve rather than achieve total conquest, a reality that makes Trump's push for a frozen conflict both understandable and perilous. The return of Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky from Washington marked a turning point in the trajectory of Western support for Ukraine, as he departed without securing the long-range Tomahawk cruise missiles that Kyiv had urgently requested U.S. President Donald Trump, citing strategic concerns about depleting American stockpiles and a desire to prioritize diplomacy over escalation, declined the request following a pivotal phone conversation with Vladimir Putin. This decision has sent shockwaves through European capitals, where leaders now grapple with the implications of a potential U.S. disengagement from the conflict. Zelensky, while expressing disappointment, attempted to frame the outcome cautiously, noting that Trump had not issued an outright refusal and that channels for future discussion remained open. Nevertheless, his appeal to European allies grew more urgent during subsequent visits, where he warned against any form of appeasement toward Moscow. The Ukrainian leader emphasized that delays in military aid directly translate into lost territory and lives, arguing that every week without advanced weaponry allows Russia to consolidate its battlefield gains. Germany reaffirmed its commitment to Ukraine, pledging continued financial, political, and military assistance, but other European nations appeared more hesitant, reflecting growing fatigue and uncertainty in the absence of clear U.S. leadership. The situation underscores a broader strategic dilemma. Without American backing, particularly in the realm of precision long-range strike capabilities, Ukraine's ability to deter or reverse Russian advance remains severely constrained. Military experts and former defense officials have added to the sense of urgency surrounding Ukraine plight. Field Marshal David Richards, former UK Chief of the Defense Staff, delivered a sobering assessment, stating that Ukraine's lack both the manpower and the advanced weaponry necessary to achieve a military victory without direct NATO intervention, a scenario that remains politically unthinkable for most alliance members. Richards criticized Western governments for encouraging Kyiv to fight while withholding the tools required for success, calling it a form of strategic negligence. His comments echo growing concerns within defense circles that the West is caught in a paradox, unwilling to escalate to the point of direct confrontation with Russia, yet unable to provide sufficient support for Ukraine to win on its own. This stalemate benefits Moscow, which continues to leverage its vast resource base and industrial capacity to outlast a coalition increasingly divided by political and economic pressure. Meanwhile, Trump's emphasis on diplomacy over arms transfer aligns with his broader America First agenda, but risks ceding the initiative to Putin, who has shown little interest in genuine compromise. The timing of Russia's recent large-scale bombardment, over 268 guided bombs striking Kharkiv and Donbas just hours after Trump floated a combat freeze, suggests that Moscow is testing the limits of Western resolve. As Zelensky navigates this treacherous landscape, his options narrow: accept a ceasefire that locks in Russian gain, continue fighting with diminishing support, or seek alternative alliance. For now, he appears to lean toward the second path, betting that sustained resistance might yet sway global opinion. But with U.S. policy in flux and European unity fraying, the window for a favorable outcome is closing rapidly. Compounding the foreign policy challenges, President Trump faces unprecedented domestic opposition that threaten to undermine his authority and influence his international posture. On October 18th, millions of Americans participated in the No King protest, a nationwide demonstration spanning all 50 states and drawing an estimated 7 million participants according to organizers. From Times Square to Los Angeles, demonstrators voiced alarm over what they described as the erosion of democratic norms, citing aggressive immigration enforcement, restrictions on press freedom, and the consolidation of executive power. In Washington, D.C., crowds gathered near the Capitol chanting, "This is what democracy looks like," while in South Carolina and other traditionally conservative states, similar rallies reflected the movement's broad geographic reach. Even prominent figures like former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi joined the march, symbolically carrying a broken crown to underscore the anti-authoritarian message. Trump responded defiantly, dismissing the protests as hate America rallies orchestrated by political opponents and sharing AI-generated videos on social media depicting himself as a monarch piloting a fighter jet. These actions, rather than quelling dissent, further inflamed tensions and highlighted the deep polarization gripping the nation. For foreign leaders, this domestic instability raises questions about the reliability and longevity of Trump's foreign policy commitments. If his administration is consumed by internal strife, its capacity to sustain complex diplomatic initiatives, such as the Budapest Summit or long-term support for Ukraine, may be significantly diminished. If you have made it this far, congratulations, you have unlocked the truth. I want to ask you a quick question though. With President Zelensky returning from Washington without the critical long-range Tomahawk missiles and facing pressure to accept a ceasefire that freezes the current front lines, is Ukraine being forced into a position where ceding territory is its only viable, albeit devastating, option for survival? And why? Join the debate. We want to hear your insightful opinion on where this is all heading in our community. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Like the video, hit the notification bell, and most importantly, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.